Hello, everyone. My apologies about earlier. There were some technical challenges with Zoom. My name is Lexano Gan, and I will be your host for today. I hope you have been keeping well. On behalf of BCI Asia, thank you for attending our Construction Market Update webinar series, the first of many more to come. Seeing the number of registrants increase as the days go by kept us excited all week. It is testament to what the stakeholders of the construction sector, like yourselves, are looking for in this time of uncertainty. Some direction, I'm guessing. BCI Asia has a long history in providing our members with quality project leads across a multitude of construction projects in Malaysia. And during the challenging time for those involved in construction, we hope we can be of assistance to you in providing a clearer picture as to what is really going on today. Without further delay, joining us today with close to a decade worth of research experience, Frank Chow, National Research Manager of BCI Asia, will share with you a few topics that he has deemed relevant to the current state of things. After which he will be attending to some of the questions that you may have for us, and you may leave them in the Q&A box below. Frank, over to you.
Hi, good afternoon. Frank is my name, and I'm your presenter for today. Topics for today that we're going to cover are COVID-19 impact on market and national construction outlook, forecast versus the actual construction commence, and key categories that we will focus today are industrial and residential sectors. So how COVID-19 has actually impact and continue to do so in the construction sectors in Malaysia. First, in terms of the business operation, each lockdown delays the project delivery and disrupt goods and material supplies chain. Malaysia has faced a shortage of foreign workers due to a stricter levy systems. Many local companies support government move to reduce the dependency of foreign workers. Is indeed a promising long-term goal, but in a short term, it's a painful adjustment, especially for the construction industry. And recent COVID-19 pandemic has also brought to light the poor living conditions that made foreign workers more vulnerable to the virus. High number of COVID-19 infection cases reported in construction sites and foreign worker accommodation. And this result more delays in the project timeline. And logistic also delayed due to new procedures on vessel arrivals, such as sanitary inspections, working with social distance, special schedules, reductions in the port workers. And financially, the cash flow problem is an immediate impact of the COVID-19 pandemic experienced by most contractors. Then project payments are generally evaluated based on the amount of the work done. The suspension of almost all construction activity during MCO meant no work are being carried out. So there is no payment being made. But contractors continue to incur their recurring costs, rental charges, wages, and overheads. And reduced number of projects will result lesser revenue in the market, and this increase the competitiveness. So typical challenge that contractors face when their works were allowed to resume after MCO include those I mentioned above. It led to heavy reductions in productivity and caused further delays to project completion dates, result additional costs being incurred by contractors. So that's my summary on the impact of the pandemic. We will now see how far Malaysia has traveled along its road to recovery. When the country was put under full MCO back in May this year, Malaysia recovery can say to be put on a reset mode. Only emergency repair work being allowed at the time. The National Recovery Plan (NRP) was then announced with the condition that needed to be met in order for the construction industry to resume activity. However, at the end of July, it was announced housing developments are now allowed to resume operation and is effective immediate. Special Lane Registrations Construction Industry Vaccination Program, better known as CVAC, is an effort by the Construction Industry Development Board, CIDB Malaysia, to accelerate the vaccination uptake among construction workforce and reduce the number of COVID-19 cases in workplace. The phase two will be, phase two of the vaccination will commence on, already commenced on 12th of August. It was later announced that effective 16 August, all non-essential activity in the manufacturing, construction, mining, and quarrying sectors will be allowed to operate in states under phase 1, 2, and 3 of the NRP. However, the operating capacity will be dependent on the level of vaccinations of the worker. Example, you are the business owner. It's if 80 to 100% of your workers are fully vaccinated, you can operate your business full capacity. But you can only operate at capacity of 60% if 40 to 50% of your workers are fully vaccinated. As for government budget and initiative, we will cover this in following slides. Next, we will cover national construction outlook in this slide. Malaysia construction sector is expected to rebound with potential revival of MRT projects and the 2021 budget. Some of the national infrastructure plans tabled during Budget 2021 are also likely to be outlined in 12th Malaysia Plan. Example include 3.8 billion ringgit Malaysia for new infrastructure projects and 780 million for 5 economic corridors in Malaysia. And to attract foreign companies in the manufacturing sectors to relocate their business to Malaysia, government has also introduced tax incentive to Pelanjana Semula Ekonomi Negara, or better known as Penjana. Example, 0% tax rate for the first 10 years for a new company in the manufacturing sector with an investment in fixed asset between 300 to 500 million ringgit Malaysia. There is also extensions of tax incentive for economic region until year 2022, where manufacturing, oil and gas, petrochemical, tourism, and agriculture will be among the benefited sectors. NRP and economic recovery measure will be fully detailed in the 12th Malaysia Plan and Budget 2022. Now, let us look into some of the current business opportunity in the construction sector. New civil project proposal and revival of mega project, example MRT Circle Line project, which has received over 40 submissions from major construction players in the country under the Request of Information RFI exercise in May 2021. MRT Corp has also received several private funding initiative proposals for the projects. We believe MRT Corporation will announce the new date for the calling of the tender soon. The National Fiberization Plan under Jendela Initiative has been implemented by government to further improve broadband coverage and usage throughout the country to facilitate expected high demand during the new normal and propel the emerging digital economy. Promotions of development in economic corridors. Regional corridor authorities will facilitate investors to ensure committed investment are realized, promote trading and business activity, link supply and demand market in the region, encouraging more private investment in rural areas, boosting the job creation, increasing living standard, accessibility to healthcare and education. Malaysia plans for the renewable energy, increase the share of renewable energy in its installed capacity to 31% in 2025 and 40% in 2035 under its power generation plan. This is great news for companies involved in the clean energy and raw materials. Solar industry is currently the leading renewable energy producer in Malaysia. There is potentially 1,200 megawatts more of large-scale solar project after LSS4. In the past, Malaysia is dependent on fossil fuel for industrial and transportation sector. But I'm glad that Malaysia is now venturing into renewable energy sector. It's a good move to reduce carbon footprints. Okay, the next topic that I'm going to present now is a comparison between forecast and actual data in year 2021. The forecast value that will be presented are based on BCI Economic Forecaster report from the month of January, March, and July 2021, while actual value is as of 9 August 2021. The forecast value may fluctuate in coming month due to movement control order and SOP regulation. Here is the chart. This chart shows that the severe projects in commencement for year 2021, the value in unit is million ringgit Malaysia. The red bars represent the value of project which have commenced constructions. This only apply for the month of January to July 2021. The blue line, the indication of the forecast value in our forecast report from earlier this year. From what you can see, the actual values are relatively close to what have been forecasted. For the month of August to December 2021, since these are the future months, the bars represent forecast value. Here we provide a breakdown of projects that are likely to commence in the next 5 months. The green bar represents projects where the main contract has been awarded, but construction has yet to commence, while the purple bars are projects which are currently under tender stage. And all of these projects forecasted to commence by the end of the year. Severe projects in our research consist of projects in the categories of infrastructure, transport, and utilities. The total value for severe projects in commencement for the year 2021 estimated at 21.6 billion ringgit Malaysia. Okay, the next chart we have here is represent building projects in commencement for the 12 months in year 2021. Value in unit is million ringgit Malaysia. It's identical to the previous chart in terms of legend. Hence, the red bar represent actualized building project that have commenced construction, and the blue line being BCI forecasted value for those respective months. And the future months are represented by your green and purple bars, which are projects where main contract have been awarded and project currently in a tender stage. The data for building projects are more volatile compared to the severe projects, especially in June and July 2021. The forecasted value in June is 4.6 billion ringgit Malaysia, but actual project commencement was only valued at 600 million ringgit Malaysia. In July, we forecast the value is 3.5 billion ringgit Malaysia, but the actual project commence was almost double, with a value of 6.5 billion ringgit Malaysia. This is due to most construction projects are halted in full lockdown during June and resumed work in July. The project in the building sectors in our research consists mainly in projects in the categories of residential, community and cultural, education, industrial, retail, and hospitality. Total value for building project in commencement for 2021 estimated at 46 billion ringgit Malaysia. Okay, we will now take closer look into the industry sectors. COVID-19 pandemic has caused major losses and damage to business owners who operate factories. One of it being manufacturing sector only allowed to operate at 60% of its workforce, result in lower productivity. Some manufacturing sector has also cut production volume due to lower demand. Example in the textile industry, automotive and aerospace manufacturing industry. However, the market segments of pharmaceutical, paper and printing, and logistics have been the heavy lifter in construction market during the pandemic. Amid slow-moving economic activity, the COVID-19 has led to surge in e-commerce and acceleration in digital transformation. As lockdown became the new normal, business and consumer went digital. And Bank Negara Malaysia report that online retail sales is almost double during COVID-19 pandemic. Third-party logistics from the standard warehousing service where business owner can pick and pack the goods to more complex logistics services such as ship management, tracking, tracing, cross-docking, and comprehensive client logistic management. And we have a sum of 1.1 billion ringgit Malaysia been set aside in budget 2020 to boost regional economic corridor development. Among others is Chuping Valley Industrial Area in Perlis, Sama Laju Industrial Park in Sarawak, and Sabah Agro-Industrial Precinct. Industrial sector supported by the growth in the manufacturing sectors. A foreign direct investment has increased between Q4 2020 and Q1 2021, despite uncertainty of the pandemic. MITI and MIDA stated that Malaysia continued to attract high-value foreign and domestic investment. For Q1 2021, manufacturing is the leading recipient of foreign direct investment in the country. An example is SK Nestle's, a South Korean conglomerate corporation, has chosen Malaysia to be the location of its first overseas manufacturing plant for copper coils. It's a raw material used in the electrical vehicle batteries. For your information, Malaysia has been doing rather well in the energy efficient vehicle EEV sectors. These include hybrid and fully electrical cars. The production of these vehicles make up an estimation of 70% of the country's total automotive production in 2020, which is nearly 300,000 units. Another two examples are AT&S, Austria-based semiconductor manufacturer, and Ryzen Energy, solar technology company come from China, have also elected to invest in Malaysia for their production base. These companies will bring the latest high-end technology in the country, build up a whole new technology sectors, strengthening Malaysia as a high-tech manufacturing hub in Asia. Okay, this chart is showing the industrial projects in commencement for 12 months in year 2021. Value in unit is million ringgit Malaysia. It's a combination of both private and public sectors. Project that we're going to highlight in the industrial segments are the first one, manufacturing and processing. We covered before SK Nestle's, they're going to build a copper foil factory at KKIP Industrial Zone 9. This is in the Kota Kinabalu Industrial Park in Sabah. So estimate value is at 4.2 billion ringgit Malaysia. The next is paper and printing, ND Paper Malaysia. It's a coated duplex board paper mill at Bentong. This is in Pahang, value at 100 million ringgit Malaysia. And warehousing and logistics, Sepangga Bay Container Port, they are doing an upgrade. This is a public sector's project. It's valued at around 900 million ringgit Malaysia. Pharmaceutical, we have Dynacare Rubber Glove Factory at Lumut in Perak, and value at 624 million ringgit Malaysia. So the total value for industry project in commencement for 2021 is the total is 7.2 billion ringgit Malaysia. Second half of the 2021 alone is valued at 5.5 billion ringgit Malaysia. And these are the summary of projects that reported by BCI Asia, which are from design and documentation stage until the construction stage. The data shown in this table are captured at the end of July and may subject to change. Okay, now we move to this residential sector. We take a closer look. Overall interest in the residential sector is likely to remain subdued until health crisis is fully brought under control. However, we are expecting some work commence in accordance to the pent-up demand in the housing market after the movement restriction have been lifted. As mentioned earlier in Malaysia Road to Recovery, housing development are allowed to resume operation. House renovation are allowed to carry out during phase 1 of NRP. Visiting to residential strata scheme, however, is still not allowed during phase 1, except with special permission by the management. Most property agents are conducting virtual viewing during this time. And under phase 2, activities allowed are sales and marketing at the developer offices, sales agent, sales gallery, show unit, and sub-sales property units. Okay, so these are the factors that supporting residential sector as whole in Malaysia. We have a record low interest rate in 2020 alone. Malaysia has cut overnight policy rate OPR 4 times in a row. Bank Negara Malaysia has decided to maintain OPR at 1.75% in July. This makes financing more affordable. And we have government incentive for buyers too. Government subsidized such as home ownership campaign, HOC, is going to extend until 31st December 2021. This initiative will exempt the buyer from stamp duty for HOC housing projects, with the selling price started from 300,000 to 2.5 million ringgit Malaysia. And pent-up housing demand during lockdown. Due to lockdown restriction and a wait-and-see attitude, activity may have been pushed back, but once constraints are erased, buyer will gradually regain confidence. Last, vaccination program. COVID-19 vaccine rollout is our greatest chance in minimizing the impact of this pandemic and enabling the economic recovery. Hopefully, it will increase both consumer and business confidence as the country moving toward the herd immunity. So this chart, we're showing 2 charts here. Each shows residential project in commencement for the year 2021. Value is in unit million ringgit Malaysia. The top chart shows the high-rise residential project which are 10-story and above, and the bottom chart shows low to mid-rise residential project which are 9-story and below. Here I pick private high-rise residential projects that positively contribute in the coming month. One is J Satin Setapak, value at 555 million ringgit Malaysia. Another one is Dorset Waterfront Subang, which value at 450 million ringgit Malaysia. And for the private residential development projects that are below 10 story, mostly are landed projects. So one of the projects, Almina Green, phase 18 and 21. This is estimated at value 224 million ringgit Malaysia. And Splendid Pavilion, houses at Mukim Jeram Batu, phase 2 to 4, is valued at 120 million ringgit Malaysia. And we look to another affordable housing scenario. KPKT has announced more housing units to be built for the B40 and M40 group in 2021. Just recent month, there will be 14,000 PPR units at a cost of 500 million ringgit Malaysia and 3,000 Rumah Mesra Rakyat unit for 350 million ringgit Malaysia. There is another 310 million ringgit Malaysia to build the PPAM units. This is for the civil servants projects, and 15,000, around 15,000 plus Prima projects, and SPNB to implement 11 more projects, which at the total cost of total units, 7,400 plus. Due to national residential overhang scenario, most developers are moving from the high-end projects to affordable housing. So it's essential to reduce the cost of housing construction in order to reduce the housing price to a more affordable level. One of the more productive and less labor-intensive construction method is they are using industrial building system, IBS. Since 2008, IBS has been mandated for use in government projects that are worth up to 10 million ringgit Malaysia and above. In year 2020, it was announced that the use of IBS should also be required in private projects that have a value of 50 million ringgit Malaysia and above. But this is currently under proposal stage only. Yeah, this slide, this is the summary of the residential projects that BCI Asia report. From design and documentations to construction stage projects. The data are captured end of July, same, and the information may subject to change. Yeah, this marks the end of my presentation. And thank you everyone for listening. Be happy to take any questions from the audience.
Thank you, Frank, for your valuable insights on the construction market in Malaysia. Now, we will be answering some questions from the audience. Our first question is from Melvin, who asks, how likely is the MRT3 to commence work in 2021? Especially since there's an announcement that MRT Putrajaya line is opening in November 2021.
MRT3, right? Yeah. MRT3 projects. I listened to the news in mentioning the tender date is around August, but I think they have moved the dates, and recently from the real developers, they say that the tenders likely to defer until fourth quarter of calendar. This is for the tenders. For the construction, I'm not sure, probably is in early 2022, because these MRT3 projects are a bit different. This time the government take the approach. For the MRT 1 and 2 actually are fully funded by the government, right? So for MRT 3 a bit different. Government is also looking for the private sectors participation and financing. So I think I read somewhere in the news that saying that they received the private, like we cover in the few slides before, they received private funding initiative, PFI, for the MRT3 projects. And they are still studying on this. Yeah, so I think the timeline will be a bit, yeah, because they need to review all these PFI, and they have to readjust the timeline for the tender process. Yeah, but the tenders for the first package will be likely in fourth quarter 2021 lah.
Okay. Our next question is from Wani, who asks, what other economic segments could potentially be the catalyst for the construction sector?
Economic segments, what other economic segments is it?
That could potentially be the catalyst for the construction sector.
Okay. Yeah. So I think one of the key driver for the GDP, right, the gross domestic product GDP in Malaysia is actually are driven by the service sectors. They are account for more than half of the GDP, 50+%, and they remain the fastest growing and the most top growth. So these service sectors are like retail, banks, education, health, gas, water supply. So all these service sectors, they need for business expansion also, and because of their ever-growing activities in these sectors, right? So I think that can be a spillover effect to the construction sector. It helped the construction sector to, getting more contracts from this sector as well. Yeah. I hope that answers your questions, Wani.
Right. And our last question for today would be from Anis. She has asked, the cost of some building materials are increasing up to even 30%. Who should be made to bear these costs? Because it seems almost unfair that the main contractor has to bear further losses on their profit margin.
Yeah, tricky questions. So these building material costs have increased, and who will need to bear the cost, right? I mean, I actually also I recently read articles on from a master builder association, the president, Mr. T, mentioning now it's more costly to build the industrial building, industrial project. It costs 10 to 20% to construct the industrial buildings nowadays. And some investor also, due to this reason, has postponing their plan to invest in Malaysia. And and in the case of residential properties, this effect also ultimately pass to the buyers, the property end users lah. And that's why the property price keep increasing, right? To answer these questions, I also saw this like steel and PVC pipe, aluminum alloy are the most of the most price high in these materials, high about 30 to 40%. It's really damaging to the construction sectors lah. One point that I like to mention is in the public projects, right? Government projects, so they will include the public the price variation, the price variations that the government will pay the difference. If the cost of the projects escalated, let's say the projects the escalation of the price may be because of this the price hike the price hike in a building material after tender was awarded. So government will actually deduct the cost if the price of material come down. And also you will pay when the material is actually increased. So it's a win-win situation for both parties. Perhaps for private projects, right, could come out with a similar arrangement as well. It will be good for the construction industry. And talking about this building material price, really need federal government really need to control because if not controlled, right, it will have repercussions in the construction and building industry. And also, I think another point that recently mentions about this to use more local products, right? I think National Export Council and EC also emphasize importance of the contractors and our contractors and developers to use Malaysia content products in local and international projects. So the use of more Malaysia products. And talking about these building materials, this is they play a part also on the total project cost, right? So when we are seeing that the overall project cost also involved, one is building material price is one of the reason, and another one is the labor cost also. So like the delay in a project timeline, we require to pay more, the contractor require to pay more, right, wages to the workers. So that's why government also encouraging to use like more new advanced technology like IBS. It will be using this technology will help to depend lesser on the workforce. Okay, require lesser workforce in the site, because the IBS were actually assembling off-site. So they were assembly in one location and then transport to this. So in a way, it also reduce the labor need will reduce a lot. So in that sense, it will also the reduce the project cost as a whole. Yeah.
Okay. Right. Right. I guess it's safe to say that prefabricated materials could be the future of the construction sector. Yes. Okay. Right. And thank you all for your questions. There are indeed some really good ones. However, as we are running out of time, we will get back to the rest of the questions via email by next week. So you may expect a reply from our National Research Manager himself. And without further ado, I would also like to show our audience, especially those who are unfamiliar with our service, as to how one can use the lead manager system to identify key projects in the market. So typically, this is what a user would see if they were to log into the lead manager system. After which, the main function that most of our users utilize would be the project search. And they would only have to select their location. And at the same time, the stages that they are looking for. BCI has made it as especially easy for our users, because we can filter out projects which are deferred as well as abandoned, so as to only focus your time into projects that are still moving, right? And okay. So what I've just done is to run a search on industrial category in Malaysia, and this generated a result of 222 projects. So these are the factories, and okay, so typically in order to identify which factories are end user projects, one would only have to pay attention to the naming of the project. So such as this one, which is Dongwo Enterprise. So you would be able to tell that this is an end user project, as opposed to something like this, Kota Elmina, which is an industrial development. So these are smaller factories altogether. Right, but coming to a few of the key projects that was mentioned by Frank in his sharing session earlier, would be Ryzen Energy as well as SK Nexilis. So what we're doing here is we're just trying to find out where the project would be. Okay, so like this one, Ryzen Energy, seeing as to how it carries a very huge project value, right? And let's explore this project a little bit more. So it's a manufacturing plant as well as a warehouse located at Kulim High Tech Park, that's in Kedah. The project value is estimated to be at 1.5 billion ringgit Malaysia. And the project stage currently is under construction. whereby construction commenced back in May 2021 and is expected to end in November 2021. Okay, and over here, this is the exact location of the project in terms of the address. All right. And over here, you can see that the status reported by our researcher mentions that the construction has commenced and the main contractor is listed. This is what the industrial development will include, like warehouse, production floor, power generation plant, and so on. And over here is just a general listing of the building materials. And I would say this part here of the information could be considered the most valuable part of our service to our subscribers, whereby we'll be able to report to you who are the decision makers of the project. So regardless of who are your customers, whether it be the architect or the developers or owners directly, or if you potentially spec into the mechanical and electrical side of things, or maybe you go directly to the main con as a subcontractor to provide your service. All this information can be obtained through BCI. And with that, this is how we can say that BCI does indeed provide our subscribers with project information at your fingertips. And just to share a little bit more in terms of exciting plans that BCI has for the year, we are also looking to integrate our platform, the Lead Manager platform, with one of our other solutions at the moment, which is called Analytics. And Analytics is more of a tool that enables a person to identify market trends accordingly to historical data. So it analyzes big data and it then produces like a analysis for the users, right? So it comes with 8 interactive dashboards, each having a unique function. The video that I'm about to show you is one of the dashboard, which is called relationship mapping, whereby it predicts who are the architects who will most likely work with developers. Right. So I just want to also emphasize that the upgrade will be coming later this year. It will be rolled out later this year. And the relationships that could potentially be mapped is not specific to only architects and developers. You could also use analytics to predict who are most likely the main contractor that will be hired for a job, right? And this will provide your sales team with a better angle and strategy when it comes to selling into a project. Right. Last but not least, we understand that the construction industry has been bleak and businesses are struggling to recover losses that have been incurred from each time that the nation enters a lockdown. If you have an existing subscription with us, or even if you don't, do talk to us. consult with the BCI Asia representatives on the various assistance that we can provide you. If you don't have a BCI Asia representative, you may submit an inquiry to us and one will be provided to you. That's one takeaway that I would like our audience to have, is that BCI is always here to listen to your problems. And yes, we do have solutions available for you. And this marks the end of the first construction market update webinar series. Thank you all for making it a success. Do stay tuned for the schedule of our next webinar series. We would love to hear from you on topics you would like us to cover in the upcoming sessions. You may leave a feedback via our survey form by scanning the QR code, or by accessing the survey via the chat box below. BCI Asia is also delighted to inform that all of you will be given a complimentary 1-month membership to our magazine apps. By next week, you will receive an email with your access information and details on how to access the apps on your mobile devices. With the pandemic making the world still uncertain, we hope that the Future Art and Construction Plus apps will give you greater certainty through our commitment to help you to stay informed and inspired. We look forward to seeing you guys again. Till then, stay safe and let us navigate through this difficult time with one another. Goodbye.